Hello, members. Tom Morrison with the Metal Treating Institute here in the home office, getting ready for our fall meeting. We have stuff all around us outside these doors, getting ready to have a couple of hundred members come to Napa Valley to learn a ton about different things that's going on in the future and to get you prepared. But today, we're talking about in our monthly series on how to maximize your leadership superpower with Dr. Rick Marks. Dr. Marks, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be back. And thank you guys for being willing to hang in with us each month to kind of take this work on leadership and emotional maturity and intelligence and move it forward in your life.
Yeah, you know what, Dr. Mark? So this week, we say this every year at our Yes program, and it comes from you that people are not leaving their companies or their jobs or leaving their bosses. And you know what? I had two people I spoke to this week as I got in today talking just about stuff, and we started talking about new hires. One guy had like five new hires, and two have quit, and they all came in like 3 weeks ago, and two have quit in the last couple of days. And he said, Tom, it's because they don't like their boss, and because
Exactly.
he's kind of a rough character. So I think it's really important that anybody listening in or that sees these talks, that they go in their office and they get the people. I tell people, if you're in charge of two or more people in your company, they need to be in some kind of ongoing management training scenario. And the great thing about these monthly talks is they happen every month on the first Monday. This is on Tuesday. I didn't lose my days. This is on Tuesday because yesterday was Labor Day. But I think they should have them coming and visiting and sitting and listening to these talks every first Monday and talk as a group. What do we learn? How does it apply to us? And what do we need to change to make this workplace a really good place to go where they've got humility, respect, and the things that you talk about?
Yeah. And you kind of thinking in terms of you can learn leadership skills, but still be an emotionally immature adult. I think true leadership flows out of who you are as a way of being. That's the phrase that we use. And those who've gone through Yes know that language that I use. Can we all have a way of being? I think EQ, which are really emotional intelligence skills, work best when you're emotionally mature.
Right.
If you're immature, they're going to use the EQ skills in an immature way. So really, it's about transforming our lives, become healthy, mature adults, so that we can live and love and lead maturely. That we like to say it and relate well.
So repeat the line again. You are who you are. What was that line again?
A phrase we all have a way of being, right? And this way of being is who you are as an individual. I always say it's what your soul is, and you can't change. Think of it this way: change and transformation, Tom, are not the same. We use the words interchangeably, but in reality, they're not the same in language. And words are important because words matter. Change is external. I've written an article on this that was at my Substack a while back. If people want to go to that Substack, they can find it. How
Right.
change and transformation are different. Change is external. I'm going to change a behavior. Got it? Part of the struggle with change is this. If I'm going to change behavior A, I have to fight the behavior that I want to change. So
Right.
to change this, I have to persist against that thing back there.
Well, that's why I was
But if,
asking you. That's why I was asking you to repeat it, just because it's a way of being. Because when you hire managers to come work at your place, guess what you're bringing? It's like kind of like marriage. When you marry into somebody, you marry. Guess what? You don't marry them. You marry their family. And they bring all that to the table. So when you get into that marriage of hiring a manager or leader in your office, they don't just bring their physical self. They bring all their emotional baggage that how their dad treated them, how they got non-trust in relationships, all that deep-rooted stuff comes to the table, as you always say. And yes, what plays itself out in the home is eventually going to play itself out in the workplace. I just thought
yeah,
that was so connected.
I just got done working with a couple in real crisis, and my colleague Miko is with me, and she heard me say to the wife, when you married him, you should have looked at the Carfax. She said, "What?" I go, "You should have talked to his ex-wife before you married him.
Yeah.
Remember, all you got was one side of the story. And here it is, years later, this guy is like, he's earned his divorce. And when she finally talked to the ex-wife goes, he did the same things to me.
You know what though, Rick?
You should have looked at the Carfax,
You
get the
know the funny
information."
thing. The funny thing is though, I've been in rooms where I've told people, I even know the person personally, and I've told them, and you know what? The love and the infatuation totally blinds people to who someone is.
We say it this way in our world: you fell in love and lost your mind.
Right,
It's
exactly.
all the neurochemical cocktails in the brain, the dopamine, the serotonin, and all of that neurochemical. You have these feelings, but the feelings cloud your ability to see reality.
So my favorite one of my favorite commercials is it's a ref on the sideline of a football game, and the coach is just beside him, just screaming and hollering at him, going
It was
crazy.
a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, and the refs just sitting there like this, just as calm as can be, and the announcer's like, "Man, how can he put up with a yelling like that with a coach like that in his ear?" And then they shift to home, and the wife has got a broom, and she's just hammering away at him, just yelling at him and stuff. And that's good on both sides, not just a wife yelling at a husband because it's the other way around, but it's just the epitome of what was going on at home helped him do work better in his case because he's used to it. You know?
Exactly. It was a Budweiser Super Bowl commercial, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah. So
People laughed at
let's
that one like crazy.
so let's dive into today. So today,
Okay.
last time we talked about humility. This now we want to talk about respect. Your H-REG model. H was humility. R is for respect. E
Respect.
is for empathy, and G is for gratitude. So today we're going to put a focus.
G is goodwill.
Goodwill. Okay. So man, I got too many G's in my head, but they're all good G's, right? So
Gratitude's not a bad thing.
so today we're going to focus on respect. Respect's a huge element in terms of leadership because if your employees don't follow and respect you, you got issues. But before we got online, you happened to mention you wrote a new set of training circled around integrity. And
Yes.
I'm interested if we could start there because I would assume you would say that if you're going to have respect, it's a must that you have integrity. Would that be correct?
Very much so. Matter of fact, if you live a life of HREG, humility, respect, and goodwill, integrity will be an outgrowth of in your life, right? Now, we don't think a lot about integrity, and I didn't used to. By the way, I think it was 2007. Tom, I went to a 3-day, 13-hour a day personal growth program, and they talked about integrity as it was a part of that program. It was so transforming. They have a 3-day advance. The advance is 3 days, 12 hours a day. That advance was strictly on integrity the whole 3 days. And here's the key. The thing they kept stressing to us was you're not supposed to have integrity. You must become integrity. It's a way of being. You must become integrity as a way of being. You can have integrity, but you yourself are not integrity. You
Right.
can have humility, but you may not be a humble person. You can have respect, but you may not be a respectful person. And there's two definitions in the dictionary on integrity that they really drove home to us in practical living. The first definition is the one we mostly think of, that integrity is what you say and what you do must be consistent over time.
Correct.
You've heard me say it when I worked on a megachurch staff many years ago. I always told my kids, look, if the guy you see at work is not the same guy that's home, don't trust my faith. I'm a liar and a hypocrite. Why? My kids would know the real me. The real me is not the one in public. It's the one at
Right.
home.
Right.
Excuse me. And I knew that I had to be a man of integrity. There had to be consistency. And my kids would know if I'm integrity or not. Why? If I talk to people in public one way and I disrespect my wife at home, well, they would know the real me. It's not the guy out here who's respecting everybody else. It's the one who's disrespectful at home. And so, one definition of integrity is consistency over time. What you say, what you do have to match. Yet, there's another definition of integrity that we don't think of. And to me, this is the more profound definition. And that definition in the dictionary is something is integrity when it's whole and complete. Interesting. When it's whole and it's complete. A good way to think of whole and completeness is, let's say there's a bridge being built, and in the process of being built, the bridge collapses. Well, the first thing that happens, engineers and architects go in and they start studying the design. And let's say they go, wait a minute, right here's the problem. You use this grade of steel, you should have used that grade of steel. What's the phrase they use? The bridge lacked structural integrity. It wasn't whole and complete. If I give someone a bike and over half the spokes are gone on all the wheels, both the wheels,
Right.
it lacks what? Structural integrity. Here's the thing. To the degree that we as humans are not whole and complete, think the word emotionally mature, we are not integrity. And because we are not integrity, then we are going to hurt people along the way because we have not become whole and complete. We've not become integrity. And the challenge that was given to me back in 2007, when I went through this forum, was you must become a whole, complete person so that you become integrity.
Sure.
And it was reinforced to me. Another definition, probably the most simple definition of integrity is this, Tom. Integrity is keeping your word.
Yeah.
It's just you kept your word. Example, I just went through the forum again. I took a young man that I'm mentoring there, and there was a lady got up. She's being coached from the front. There's about 140 in the room, and she kept saying that she is a procrastinator, and she doesn't like being a procrastinator. And finally, the instructor said to her, "There's no such thing as procrastination." She said, "Yes, there is." And I thought, well, this is interesting. He said, "No, you just don't want to admit that you lack integrity." See, procrastination is an excuse people give themselves for not honoring their word. When you tell somebody or yourself that you're going to have something done by a certain point in time, that's an integrity issue if you don't fulfill it. You're not good to your word. And I went, darn, he's not wrong about that. It's an integrity issue. And I thought about how many times have I committed to do something and didn't follow through? That's an integrity issue. In other words, I'm teaching people they shouldn't respect my word.
Right. Well, you don't have procrastination without a deadline, because procrastination is running towards a deadline that you wait to the last few moments. And so that means you committed to do something at a point in time in the future, and somehow you just, whether you didn't care about it, it wasn't important to you, or you just said, you know what, I'm lazy, I'm just going to do it at the last minute. So you're kind of dropping the level of performance because of you, not them. So you're right.
Yes. And they define that as integrity issue. I have come to believe over all these years, those are integrity issues. H-REG, living by H-REG, you will become a person of integrity. Why? Because you recognize you give your word to someone to do something, it's disrespectful to not follow through and do that.
Right.
And there's no goodwill in it. You see? And then I make excuses for not honoring my word, which only frustrates the boss. Or from a boss, it frustrates those below me when I've committed to do something for them and I don't follow through. Well, that lack of integrity, I also lose respect. Because what I'm teaching them is, hey, Rick's not good to his word. Thus, I've lost integrity with them over time. Why? They've learned that I don't respect my word. I don't respect I don't respect the vows that I made in a sense.
Well, to me, here's how it plays out in a heat treat plant for those listening in. I mean, everything in your plan is based upon deadlines.
Yes.
Deadlines for the furnaces, deadlines for people coming in, deadlines for leaving. It's one thing when a employee, would you say this? It's one thing when an employee frustrates a leader or a manager because they're procrastinating, they're losing their level of integrity, which causes them to lose respect. But here, to me, it's double whammy when the leader is doing the procrastination because they're yelling and telling. I always call it that, yelling and telling. They're yelling
Yeah.
and telling the employee that you must be on time, you must get this in this furnace at this point, you must do this. So they're saying you must, and when they do it, they procrastinate themselves. So it's a double whammy. Not only do you lose respect, you lose the ability to encourage and coach that person on what to do because you're not doing it yourself.
Yes. And let's talk about respect since this is our topic really and how it links to integrity. But respect, by definition, I like things simple, is honoring and valuing another person. Whenever you treat a person in a way that dishonors or devalues, you are being disrespectful. Or I can make it simpler. All humans, just because they exist, have dignity, just because they exist.
Right.
And there's a book written by a psychologist, Desmond Tutu wrote the foreword to both of her books. But the book I'm referring to is the book on dignity. It's the book about dignity. Her and I say a lot of the same things, but her point is that the violations of the workplace in her book, Dignity and Leadership, are really violations of dignity. Leaders basically treat people as if they have no dignity. Or my language is you disrespect their dignity. And dignity is so central to who we are as humans. Think
Right.
about it this way, Tom. We execute people on death row, people who've earned the death penalty. We still execute them with what? Dignity. Why? Because it's still a person.
Sure.
And whenever you demean someone, devalue someone, disrespect someone, you're demeaning their dignity as a person. So think about it this way: in the most basic sense, you can treat everybody with respect, whether you like them or not. Why? Respect just says, I'm going to honor and value you. One of the things I learned in the military was this: I don't have to like my leading petty officer. I don't have to, let me use the language. I don't have to respect that person as an individual, but I learned in the military, I better respect his rank.
Sure. So what?
And
So what?
I learned that distinction, but way, way back in my teens, in my early 20s. But I better respect Petty Officer Rich's rank, though the man himself I didn't respect.
Right. So why does respect play such a foundational role in the H-REG model?
It's because remember, H-REG came out of my journey of transformation. I began to realize that when I was in conflict with my wife or others, I was disrespectful,
Right.
because immaturity, emotional immaturity will lead you to being disrespectful in conflict. And what I realized was whenever I was disrespecting Luella, I was treating her as if she was less than me. I was treating her as if she was not fully the best person she could be. Whenever you cut someone off when they're talking, is disrespectful. When you call
I'm sorry.
someone
What'd you
names,
say?
when you cut someone off, you rascal.
Caught you,
Yeah,
didn't
you
I?
did. Yeah. But you think about when people are in conflict, what do? You don't let them finish talking. You cut them
Right.
off.
Right.
That's actually devaluing them. It's really saying your thoughts and feelings don't matter. Mine do. That's disrespectful. Call people names. Disrespectful. When someone asks you a question, don't answer them. Disrespectful. What's the message you're sending? You're less than me. I'm better than you. Example. I've shared this before in Yes, but not everybody's gone to Yes who are listening in. But many years ago, I did a training for a company in Wisconsin, and it was a John Deere affiliate company. And I had 10 of their core leaders in a conference room for 2 days. And we're talking about these kinds of things. One of the vice presidents got frustrated. He hits the conference table that he's sitting at. He goes, "So this is all touchy feely stuff." I said, "Excuse me? Everything you're talking about is touchy feely stuff, Dr. Marks." He goes, "Everybody around this table, we're engineers. Do you understand that? We're engineers. What's the message? I don't do touchy feely because I'm an engineer." And what he's really suggesting is I don't have to be respectful to other people. That's
Right.
really it's what he's not saying that's screaming real loud, right? But I
Right.
believe in respect. And one thing about respect is it is disrespectful to give people input into their life without their permission. So I always ask permission. So I said, "Thank you for sharing that." I said, "May I share a thought with you about that?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "What I'm about to say, I mean with all due respect." I said, "Do you want to be an engineer with a heart, or do you want to be an engineer who's heartless?" And Tom, the room was dead quiet for a few seconds. And another person goes, "I understand." I said, "Thank you. You cannot use the fact that you're an engineer to justify disrespecting people. People don't check their humanity at the door. That's still a person worthy of being respected as a person." And I think one of the reasons that in H-REG, respect is so fundamental is humility will lead you to being respectful of other people, because you're no longer thinking about yourself. Because in humility, I think about others,
Right.
how I affect others, how I care for others, which is the empathy part of H-REG. You see how I treat others, which is the goodwill part. Humility opens the door for respect, where pride will cause you to be more disrespectful.
Well,
So,
here's what I used
yeah,
to always say about the workplace. A lot of homes, I mean, probably upward of 50, a lot of homes have a lot of dysfunction going on in the work and in their house. And a lot of people had parents that were that were bullies. They were disrespectful. They ruled by an iron fist.
yep,
And as you grew up, you began to dislike the iron fist. And then you enter the workplace. And so I've always said when you can create a humble, fun loving, got to get your job done, but fun and exciting environment in your workplace, because everything at home is kind of dysfunctional. They love coming to work. That's one of the things I've always used to my advantage just in my lifetime of managing. I didn't care, about certain things. But one thing I learned early on is most people live in a house that is way more than, it's not even, it's way more less than perfect, way
yes,
less. And so if you can create just a fun, exciting, purposeful day at the office or the plant, you're creating a positive atmosphere for them right away because when they come to work, they feel accepted, they feel loved, they feel admired for what they're doing. And you create that, you draw them in as opposed to if you create a dysfunctional place at the workplace, just like they have at home, they're out, they're checked out. And I think that's one of the big things I'd like everybody listening to this or listening to it in the future takes home is that seek to create a fun loving, exciting, purposeful atmosphere in your workplace, in your sphere, not the whole company because you can't control it all, but your circle of influence. Do it because if you can, everybody that's having a dysfunctional time at home or had a dysfunctional time in their past is going to be drawn into you because they're like, this is a place that I can feel good about.
yeah. Those in yes, no. I talk about my brother as a leader because he's a level 5 leader. Didn't used to be when he was younger. You made him mad, he pick you up and throw you. But he's at the highest level of emotional intelligence. He's, one of the things I've always watched him do as a CIO of $1 billion health system was that even when he was third from top at SunTrust Bank way back before it became Truist, was that when people struggled, they actually came to his office, not for help about work issues, but about personal life issues.
Right.
And he found himself as a leader, encouraging people and giving them guidance in their personal life. And so much so, they respected him so much, they trusted him with their heart. Because Don always said, look, if I've been gifted with an ability to inspire people, I want to do that because if I help them be the best version at work and at home, that benefits SunTrust, that benefits Tivity, wherever he was, but ultimately it benefits them. And if they're a healthy whole person, think integrity now, if they're a healthy whole person, then I'm helping create an environment of a really strong work team,
Right.
where people love coming to work and they love the people around them. And that's a powerful place to be, right?
Right. So talking about that, so what are some practical ways people can, especially leaders, can really show respect in the workplace on a daily basis, and even in the home? I mean, people are going to walk away from this, go, man. And yes, that's the one thing recognize about yes students when they're listening to you is they go, you know what? This isn't about work. This relationship stuff is about everything. Kids,
Yeah,
wife,
because
friend.
yeah, because who we are as individual is how we're going to be as a leader. Who I am as an individual is going to show up in how I am as a father. Who I am as an individual is going to affect all the different roles I have, be it a father, a husband, a parent. It's going to affect all my roles,
So
right?
when you say here's another thing, I've seen people who they talk about they hate their father because of his upbringing and how he treated them. And when you watch them in life or at work, they're doing the very same thing because it's what they know, even though they hated it. So as we talk about this practical ways of showing respect in the workplace, how does someone who had a parent that they wrestled with emotionally and they really hated the way they were disrespected as a kid, and they turn around, they're doing that themselves as they've grown up. How do they break that curse and
You know,
differentiate that?
um, that's going to be a long topic.
Oh, so
I was I
that's
was thinking,
another
Tom.
episode.
Well, I was thinking, and I don't know what your thoughts are about this, but I'm thinking we ought to do a 1 day training for all those that want to come, strictly on integrity and completing your past. Because identity, what is the genesis of a person's identity? It's what your brain told you about what happened.
Right.
And if people don't get what I'm talking about, events are just events. You can have one event and there'll be 7 different interpretations of that event. That's the meaning that you attached. Same thing though in childhood, when things happen to us, because a child's brain is what's called egocentric. I'm the center of the world because abstract thinking doesn't kick in until 13. So kids are creating stories about themselves. I'm unlovable. I'm not good enough. I'm unwanted. I'm a failure. That links to your identity. And then you start leading out of that. You lead out of that identity, but you never question the stories you told yourself as a kid. So your stories end up affecting other people in the present day by day. It also affects how you handle conflict. All of those have to be those stories must be let go of to find a greater story that you are lovable, you are good enough, you do matter, but you're going to have to believe it for yourself ultimately. I think when we don't respect ourselves, we will tend to be disrespectful because people who have high self-respect also respect other people. People who have low self-respect, that's because they've not completed whatever issues from the past they need to complete in the present. And because you've not become complete yet, you can be disrespectful in an increased way. Why? Because you don't respect yourself. It's the same thing with the research around compassion, Tom. It's hard to have compassion for others when you lack self-compassion. You know, you can't really love others till you love who? Till you love yourself well enough, right?
Right.
High self-esteem and high self-worth is important to all of this, but it's a self-esteem and self-worth rooted in humility. And so one way you can show respect to others, first and foremost, is make sure you respect yourself. That means I'm not arrogant or haughty. That would be a pride issue, right? It's a respect rooted in humility. And secondly, I think when we're respectful to ourselves, we'll give people grace when they mess up. We don't call people names. We self-regulate our brain. Why? Why would you want to snap out in the animal brain posture? Because whenever you're in the animal brain down here, fight, flight, or freeze, you're going to be disrespectful. Your tone will be, your body language will be, because to be respectful has a tone. I always say this way: love has a tone to it. Respect has a tone to it. Respect has a body language that goes along with it. Humility will increase your ability to be respectful. Pride will increase your ability to be disrespectful. It's just that simple to the brain. And so one of the ways leaders can do it is, hey, if there's something you've not completed in your own personal life, go complete it. There's a lot of personal growth things out there. I get to do coaching for a person that I'm coaching currently, or another industry. I'm helping him learn to become better at empathy because he lacks it. And it's caused a lot of problems. Got it? And so he needs to practice empathy and respect. I'm helping him get there by getting him some questions to think about, helping him complete some things that he needs to complete. So it can be more rooted in the present. So that's one thing you can do is what do you need to complete? Secondly, this is a simple one. How do you want to be treated? We all want to be respected. Guess what? Be respectful.
Right.
You want to be respected, then be respectful. It's disingenuous to insist on being respected, but you can be disrespectful. That's an integrity issue. So you don't like what you dish out? Wow. How disrespectful of you. And that's a lack of integrity. If you're going to dish it, be willing to accept it. You will reap what you sow, or the personal development field calls it the law of attraction. Anger attracts anger. Resentment attracts resentment. But guess what? Respect attracts respect. Goodwill attracts goodwill. Just as much what happens in the negative happens in the positive in the scope of life. So another practical step is, get some coaching, get some mentoring, become self-aware. All right. And have a plan that if you find yourself a tendency disrespectful, be at work or at home with your spouse or with your kids, those are opportunities. This is important because that's how I saw it 30 plus years ago. Those are opportunities for me to start practicing respect.
Right.
I saw those. All right, here's a chance for me to practice respect. Here's a chance, Walmart, to practice patience. Right, 25 checkout lanes, only one open. Great place to practice and develop the virtue of patience.
Yeah.
I began to realize that every day around me, there are things that are happening that I get to practice respect. I get to practice empathy. I get to practice goodwill. I get to practice humility. And I availed myself to those opportunities because the more I availed myself to those opportunities, I became humble. I became respectful. I became empathic and I became goodwill.
Well,
And I became integrity in time.
I always say if you want to see that in practice or the opposite of that, pick the rainiest day and thunderstorms you could ever imagine and go have lunch at the Atlanta airport and just sit in the middle
Oh,
of it and watch what goes on, man. As planes start to stack up, late cancellations, you see the real people come out in that scenario. It is dynamic and hilarious to watch.
oh,
So,
it is. And if you travel a lot, what do you learn? Things happen. Don't let it rob you of your joy, right?
right,
And then you see people who are frustrated. And this is where you're talking about. We say this way, this is when their immaturity starts to show up.
right.
That you're trying to control something that you can't control, and that gate agent can't control it either. They don't have the power to control the situation.
Yet the person acts like they do. That's the funny part.
Exactly.
So let's talk
And I
about
go
I
ahead.
would say let's talk about we're in the, kind of in the middle of this misunderstandings about respect. What so I when I listen to you, I think about some. I think some people have this false sense of security where their worth is in being. When I become the leader, my self worth is in being right. I got to be right, and I think the way they lean in the emotional child that you kind of call it, or emotional teenager, when something goes down, they think being firm and loud is the way you and pushy is the way that you get people to see the road, the path of the right way, and that's not the way to go.
No, if everybody listening will grasp this one concept, the brain does one thing really, really well. You know what it does? It survives. It'll do anything to survive. And it does one other thing. It never wants to look bad. It's always going to look good.
Right.
It's a pride issue, but it's fundamental to survival. I am not going to look bad. So if I do something that hurts you, then Tom, I'm not going to be respectful enough and have the goodwill to own it. I'll blame you for it. Well, I wouldn't have done that had you not. Well, I wouldn't have said that, but you did this. That's why I did that. Number one, it shows you a lack of respect for own even of yourself, that you won't own your choices. And one thing that respect does, respect owns choices. I respect myself enough to not be this person. And if I mess up, I clean it up. That's my language. When I mess up, I clean it up. Why? I don't want to be a disrespectful person. And I think part of part of growth and maturity is that when I mess up something, I own it. That's called respect. And here's the other thing: to not speak up about something that is going on is disrespectful to that person. Because then what you're really doing is you're enabling them to continue a path that's unhealthy. And why wouldn't you respect them enough to share your insights with them? Ask permission, of course, but hey, would you let your kids continue down a disrespectful, unhealthy path? No. But if you never question them about, hey, I notice you're drinking a lot. I know you're getting drunk a lot. You're only 16. What are you doing? If you don't say anything, your silence is a tacit endorsement of them doing it.
Right.
Why didn't you respect them yourself enough, and why didn't you respect your relationship enough to say no? You can't talk to me that way. You see.
So let's say I'm a leader in a heat treat plant, and I walk
Mhm.
around every day. I'm working away. I'm in charge of 2 to 10 people in my neck of the woods. So, what are some practical things I can do in my shop, my heat treat plant, to show respect to others on a daily basis?
If an employee says, hey Tom, you got a minute? And if you do, take a minute or two and listen to them. Look them in the eye. Honor their thoughts. Honor their feelings, even if they just want to tell you a joke. Right? Respecting means honoring, valuing a person. When you do that, you're respecting them as a person. Thus, when I listen to their joke or their complaint, whatever, and I honor them, thank you for sharing that. I'll look into it. They walk away feeling respected. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get what they want, and it doesn't mean you agree with them. But what it does say is, I care about your thoughts and feelings, and they do matter to me. That's respectful, you see. It's disrespectful to tell someone I'll look into it and not do that. You just lied to them and you dishonored them as a person. So always be true to your word, which is about integrity as well, right? Because
Right.
respect makes you true to your word. Same thing, just respect them as a person. And when someone says, man, I got a really rough day, say, hey, listen, I understand. Anything we can do? No, just struggling.
I
Great.
think one of the most powerful things that you said, and yes, and they all talked about this past session, was your concept of, so what I hear you saying is
Are
blank.
you saying, yeah,
So kind of that, I think that's an incredible practical tool to use in a plant that a manager has in his back pocket. He pulls out at any given time. So kind of explain that.
so the difference between are you saying and an active listening skill, which is more so what I hear you saying, is that are you saying is strategic and is wanting to get a person's perspective. And remember, one reality, different perspectives of one reality. And what we tend to do, particularly in conflict, is we tend to poo-poo, minimize, invalidate people's perspective. Those in yes, remember it as like the left eye telling the right eye, I'm right, you're wrong, because I don't want to be able to see in 3 dimension. I don't want direction. You get direction with 2 ears, hearing in 2 ears. You lose direction with 1 ear, here when you're deaf in 1 ear, and you lose 3 dimension if you're blind in one eye. 3D and direction is a different way of understanding the world for the brain, but it takes two. Are you saying respect that other person's perspective enough that say, or respects the other person that says, I respect you enough that I want to see your perspective. Don't expect me to agree, but I want to understand what you see. And that's the power of are you saying? Because when you do an are you saying, and a person goes, yes, the energy always goes out. Yes, that's what I'm saying. In that moment, they feel understood. They feel respected. If you want to
Right.
put in H-REG language, that you respected them enough to honor and affirm their perspective. Remember, relationships aren't built on agreement. Agreement can kill a relationship, but relationships are built around understanding. So when
Right.
I seek to understand your perspective, I'm respecting you. I'm respecting your views. I'm respecting your thoughts. You feel valued by me. You feel appreciated by me. Don't ask me if I agree, because that's a different conversation. And by doing are you saying, what you're really saying is, I care enough about you to hear your thoughts and feelings, and I'll honor them. I may not agree, though. And that's the power of are you saying, as opposed to what I hear you saying. It forces the other person to think about what you said about what they said to make sure they got it right. Are you saying, I, as a listener, when I do are you saying, I'm not in the equation at all. I'm only seeking to get your perspective down. And every time I hear it, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, Rick. Every time I hear that, my brain goes, oh, that's why you think that way. I understand, but more powerfully, the other person feels understood. And in that moment, you just create a relationship. And
I kind of hear
remember,
it's a different.
it's always easier to solve a problem when you're connected than when you're disconnected.
Right. Well, I kind of hear you saying it because the difference between asking a question, so it's different, but telling your boss, no, that's not what I heard, or if he, because are you saying is a question.
It is.
So they've given your manager or supervisor has given you permission to say, no, that's not exactly what I was saying. I was saying this, as opposed to saying, so what I hear you saying, which is a statement, and you're stuck there going, do I really want to tell my boss that, you
Yeah.
know, that he's wrong?
And the other thing about what I hear you saying is, it's asking the speaker to tell the listener if they got what I said accurately.
Right.
The problem with that one is I could say, yeah, Tom, that's what I'm saying. but my part of my brain will still go, but you don't get it yet. Yeah, that's what I've said. That's what I'm saying, but you don't get it yet. Are you saying gets rid of that? You don't get it yet. Because when a person goes, yes, not only are they validating that I heard you right, they feel it that you understand. Or the way we say it in that conversation is, I feel that you feel what I feel about that issue in that moment. And that creates the relationship. So, are you saying is a much more powerful way to get perspectives quickly.
All I know is
And
we got the yes three, and that was the highlight of the morning when we were talking about the first thing they did was cruising them on the yes team, the corporate group
uh-huh,
that trained. They went around the room and said, what have you learned so far that was a game changer for you?" Numerous people said, are you saying concept? They go, we went back after session 2 and just started using that concept, and they said the connection between me and employees got like this
it does.
instead of like this is powerful. So hats
It
off
does.
to.
I even got some, I think I told you, I gotten some people wrote me on LinkedIn and told me just how much are you saying at a meeting made the meeting go better, but it gave them greater clarity what they were trying to, what was going on.
Right. And now your employees think you're actually listening to them because you're asking for their permission of did they get it right.
That's exactly right.
So
Are you saying
let's talk about a big issue that is all around leadership, and it's demanding respect versus earning respect. Now don't tell me that's a whole nother session in itself.
no,
So
you that this one is a profound distinction, because what you've just talked about is what I alluded to earlier, is that I learned in the military, I don't have to respect a person, but I better respect their rank, military, right?
sure.
My leading petty officer used to treat me like crap. But what I did in my immaturity back in those when I was 19 and 20, and I got reprimanded for, by the way, when I finally went to the lieutenant to make a complaint against my first class petty officer, I was at E3 at the time. He was an E6. He basically got onto me. He said, I'm not asking you to respect petty officer. I'll call him Rich. I'm not asking you to respect petty officer Rich, but you will respect his rank. Do you understand, Seaman Marks? Aye, sir. It was the first time I realized, wow, I don't have to respect you as a person or even feel respect for you, but I better treat you respectfully. I've now morphed that in my life by age 63, is that even if I was sitting in front of a Charles Manson, someone like that, you could always treat them respectfully, though you may never respect them as a person.
Sure.
And that's the distinction I had to make that the military really helped me with. No matter what, that's still a person. Don't treat people disrespectfully. So what I realized was I can still say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Of course, that's my Southern heritage, right? I can still be respectful to you, but just because I treat you in a respectful way, don't assume I respect you as a person. They're not the same. They're very different.
So as I
I
go ahead.
I see it this way, Tom. Never treat people in a way that they lose respect for you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a practical story of this I love to share. And my oldest, who's 36 now, he's about 16. I came home from work, way back when, and he was on the far end of our lawn mowing. And so I'd pull in the driveway, get out of the car, wave at him, and I get this little look, right, as he's mowing. And I thought, oh, well, whatever. So I went in the house, and I get in the kitchen. My wife's in there. And I said, how you doing? She said, what? It was snappy. I said, how you doing? She said, I'm not doing well. I said, what's wrong? Trey's out there mowing the lawn with an attitude. And I said, yep, I saw it. She said, it doesn't bother you? I went, no. Well, I think it should bother you. And I said, well, it doesn't bother me. Well, I think it should. He has an attitude. She can't see she has an attitude. And I said, well, it doesn't. She goes, why does it bother you? I said, because you missed the greater meaning here. The fact that he's mowing the lawn with an attitude, I don't care. Doesn't bother me one stinking bit. People go to work with attitudes at times. The greater meaning is the fact that he's mowing the lawn with an attitude means he still respects you and me as his mom and dad. And I'm going to honor the fact he still respects us as a mom and dad. The day we have a problem, honey, is the day he says, make me mow the lawn.
Right.
And I will never treat him or any of my kids or you where I bring you to a point where you lose respect for me. He still respected me as his dad, as a mom. If he wants to mow the lawn, be miserable. Be miserable. I don't really care. Lawn still gets mowed. And I think that little story right there really is helpful, that I don't ever want to treat someone in a way that they lose respect for me.
Right.
And I can respect that people are human and show up to work and, have a bad day. But I don't want to treat anybody in a way that they lose respect for me. They can respect my position. I get that. I don't want them to respect my position. I want to treat them in a way that they respect me. You
Right.
get far greater work out of people and commitment to the team when they respect you.
Well, ever since I've been a teenager, I've had one golden rule when I'm asked, what's your job? And I would tell every one of my managers the same thing. My job is to make you look good to your job, to your manager. That's
Yeah.
my job. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, my job is to wake up every day and come in here and do my job is so effective that it helps you accomplish your goals and make you look good. I'm telling you what, in 50 years of working, ain't nobody ever pushed back on that job title, that job role. They love it. And because here's my goal. If I don't like a boss, my goal was to make them look so good that they had to be promoted. And then they're not my boss anymore. People hear that and they go, that's kind of novel, you know?
Yeah. And you've done that in different ways in your personal life. And I always watched like, man, this guy is quality, you know, in the way you handle things in life that came in your personal life. You did it with integrity. And so I've always appreciated that about you.
I appreciate that, Dr. Mark. So let's get back a little bit to demand versus earning respect. So what kind of
Mhm.
differentiate those two? How does is it ever appropriate to demand respect, or is it pretty much an all in? I got to earn the respect.
Well, I have two thoughts about the demand part. If I am demanding respect and I am not respectful, that means I'm using positional power to control you. And if I demand respect because I'm the boss and you're not, I will lose respect as an individual for sure. Guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, though, people put you in a position to have to use positional power, right? And you can use your positional power in a respectful way. That's still a person. But you put me in a position where now I am here and you are here. You see? And so if you're demanding respect and you're not a respectful person, well, that to me is an integrity issue. All right. Now, I can say something like, you know, I hear your struggle, but I've already made a decision. I need you to follow through. That could be considered demanding respect. But I think at that point, you put yourself in a position, you've honored that person's views and their thoughts, but you still made a decision. I need you to follow through.
Right.
If you do that with goodwill and you're respectful, they'll go, all right, ma'am. And they'll go do it.
Right.
Demanding respect and not being respectful is the problem, though.
Right. You hit on another, I think, great line that I've always used as a leader is that anybody that works for me, I've always told them, look, I've got a title, but I consider ourselves a team and a team first, irregardless of if I'm the boss. But here's what I want you to know. If as long as you do your job and do it at the expectations that we have agreed to and we perform well, we're going to be a team. And all I'm asking you, when you mess up and decide to go another route, you're forcing me to have to be the boss. Don't force me to be the boss. I'll never tell you I'm your boss and I am the boss because that just is, you know that. But don't ever force me to have to take actions that I'm the boss. So until then, we're teammates. We're going to go and we're going to run as a team. We'll win as a team. We'll lose as a team. And I'll never make it different. but just don't ever force me to be the boss, you know?
Yeah.
And it empowers them to own that situation instead of, the guy or the girl that comes in and they tell you, I'm the boss, what I say goes, the buck stops here, blah, blah, blah. And it's just always kind of dysfunction, right?
It is, because that would be, in my mind, that's an insecure person who has to have that positional power to
Right,
feel good about themselves. Well, great leaders don't use positional power unless they're put in position to have to do
right,
it. And it's like you said, we're a team. Everybody knows, everybody knows you're the leader. You don't have to tell them that. You don't have to reinforce it. They already know that. You lead by being a leader of a team. But if you're leading through positional power, we say in our world that you're not a leader, you're a manager.
right.
And they're not the same, right?
Sure.
They're very different.
So, what about we got conflict happens every day, and managers and leaders are faced with conflict every day. How does someone use respect to better effectively deal with conflict?
Respect will make sure that when you enter into conflict, you'll treat that person that honors them as a person. Thus, they won't feel attacked. They won't feel devalued. They won't feel disrespected. They'll feel honored. They'll feel valued. They'll feel that their thoughts and feelings are respected. And that creates a different relational environment. All this is about relationship, right? Because
Right,
everything we do in life is relational, anyways, right? And so it creates a different relational experience for those people when you operate from respect. If you operate from disrespect, you're creating a relational environment as well. What basically when it's breaking down a relationship. So respect always opens the doorway that says that to the person, I respect you, I honor you, I value you as a person and your thoughts and feelings. Don't ask me if I agree though. And I think that environment that respect creates, you can feel it. You can feel, I call it the us. You can feel the us because respect protects a relational usness. Humility respects or protects us. That's why H-REG, we refer to H-REG as a for protector of an us. Because when we operate from respect, humility, empathy, and goodwill, we're actually protecting the team, the sense of usness. You're protecting the marriage. You're protecting the parent-child bond. You're protecting all your relationships just by living out of H-REG. It's a protective wall for the relationship. Respect does that as well. Where disrespect harms the relationship, and by harming the relationship, you harm the other person. And the other thing is you harm yourself. You just may not care or not. You may not care.
right.
That's a different conversation.
So, as well as this plants being, no matter what kind of heat treat plant or supplier company they are, they're run by deadlines. We talked about, the whole integrity thing. Now, last thing I want to hit on before, because we're coming up on time to go, but I want to get this in. So, what meetings are a huge deal, whether it's a full-blown meeting of the department, of the management team, or they have 5 to 6 minute, 7 minute stand-up meetings in between shifts. So we've hit on this a little bit, but what are some practical exercises or practices that they can use when they're meeting with people to draw in the sense of usness, the sense of respect? And the one thing, just to give an example, what I'm looking for, the one I always think about is when you're in your stand-up meeting for 7 minutes, use 60 seconds to say, I want to open it up for anybody. If anybody had somebody that did something for them this week, or they're just really appreciative of someone, I want you to use this time right now to call it out and say, hey man, Joe, you covered that shift for me, or you got that part for me when I couldn't find it, and I really appreciate that. It made my day go really, really efficient and well. So unpack that as well. Is there anything else that people can do in the little team meetings that they're doing to draw people into that respect?
Well, in the daily touch point that they learn in Yes, the first line is share gratitude, right? I always believe in sharing gratitudes. And I think that says I respect the group and on all that your contributions. So I think sharing appreciation gratitudes respects people's contributions to the whole. I think they need to be honored and respected, and we need to be grateful for them. I think the other thing is when someone wants to share a thought, even if you disagree, honor it. Honor it. Thanks for sharing, Bob. Appreciate that. You don't have to say I agree, disagree. Just say thanks for sharing. You don't owe them anything. You can honor their thoughts and feelings. They walk away going, hey, you're not a problem. They don't necessarily are expecting you to agree with them, but by allowing people and affirming their thoughts and feelings about something, it's just respectful. It's honoring their humanity, basically. Again, respect is honoring and valuing another person, right? Even their thoughts and feelings about things. Don't assume that I'm going to agree, though. I think it's another thing that when in a short meeting, and if someone says, hey, I've got something I'm really bothering me, can we talk about it? Have enough respect for them to set aside a meeting so you can talk about it. Don't put them off. I had a boss that I had an issue. He put me off 2 months before
Wow.
he let me come talk to him about the issue. And then he only gave me 5 minutes. He disrespected me. He didn't care about what I was struggling with. And part of it was him. You can see why.
Right.
And so I think, always be respectful to tell people what you think. And this is another thing. Don't tell people what you think they want to hear. That's a lack of integrity on your part.
Right.
You're being disrespectful. Tell people what they need to hear, even the tough things. I get that information should flow to the level needed. Same time, though, people at certain level need information and you don't give it to them for whatever reason. I think that's disrespecting them when they're a part of the solution or can be. And so by honoring, people's roles in the organization, in other words, Miko works with me, right?
Right.
Even though I'm the boss, if you will, I don't, if I want to do something, I don't just go do it. I go, hey, Miko, this is really your role in the organization. Would you like me to handle it? She says, nope, I got it. I said, okay. I want to respect her role. But if I keep doing what is essentially her job, what message am I sending her?
You're
I
not
don't
good enough.
respect exactly that I have to do it. And
Right.
that's disrespectful to send that message. And so I think those are just simple ways. I know we got to wrap up here. Those are simple things you can do in a meeting. You know, honor people's roles, let them do their job. All right, equip them to do it, trust them to do it. That's respecting them.
So two things I just got you said this great
Huh?
idea, because some people are not talkers in front of groups of people, and some people don't know how to say something positive because they never experienced it in their own life. So I just thought it's a great idea that, and hear me out on this, people listening and watching. I think this is a great thing to do. I think you put a bucket in your wherever your supervisor box is, wherever you handle, and you let people know, look, if you see somebody do something, whether it happens to you or somebody else, and it was a great gesture, and you want to give them some kudos, but you just don't feel like how you don't know how to do it in front of a group of people. We got a pad and a pen there. We want you to go in and write a gratitude about what you saw and what you experienced, and that you'd like to say thank you to this person in public, and then stick it in the box. And each day, if there's things in the box, each day we're going to pick a couple out, and I'm going to read them to the group in our little stand-up meetings. That way, you don't have 10 people trying to say something
Yeah,
individually, but you got three or four, and that just draws people in and allows people that won't talk to have a voice and say gratitudes about something. So that I think that's a you're trying to create positive, engaging relationships amongst your workers in a place that they're not outside those four walls. They may or may not be living a dysfunctional life, but if they are, being in a place where they constantly get gratitude for the job they're doing, because how much of our work we do awesome stuff and never gets said about, never get a lot because nobody's looking at it. But if somebody's got a chance to write it down and give it to the boss in a box, and it's anonymous, just like Richard. We got a comment here that said that you picked up a shift and did blank, 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 and did a great job at it, not knowing the whole shift. And the group would like to say thank you for that.
that honors them, and they feel respected. They don't. Think of it this way: in the context of respect, they now feel that they're a contributor to the team. That what they do is not expected, thus devalued.
Right.
You
And
know,
if you're a good leader, you're kind of paying attention where the kudos are going. And if you see somebody that's lacking some kudos, you figure out a way to stop by them and give them a thank yourself. That way,
yeah.
you're spreading the wealth around of kudos. So that just came to me as you were talking about that, and it's such an easy thing to do. It's a box, a pen, and a pad, a paper, and you tell people where it's at. And if you want to anytime you want to you want us to recognize someone in the team, around the team and you want me to say it, you just write it down and I'll take care of it. And it's coming not from you, it's coming from the team. Say the team dropped off a note and they'd like to say thank you for doing this. I think that'd be great. So listen
Great
in,
idea.
members. You heard it here. Pick that idea up. I think that small thing that has big implications. So, Dr.
Exactly.
Marks, we're 1 minute to go. Anything else you'd like to say when it comes to respect and your H-REG? I know I'm excited to announce next month at October 6th, we'll be talking about the empathy part of the model. But anything on respect you'd like to leave with? I think we covered a lot.
No, one of the ways that I've been feeling respected here recently as a dad, I'll just go ahead and then I'll wrap up. My daughter is taking me to Europe for 3 weeks to
Nice.
visit Civil War battlefields. I'm not Civil War, World War II battlefields.
And I know that's right up your alley.
Oh, it is right. But she respected me enough as her dad. She's paying for it. She could care less about those battlefields. But she respects me enough as her dad, loves me enough. She's taken me to all these places throughout Europe, right? For 3 weeks. And you want to talk about feeling respected, feeling valued, feeling loved? That is a gesture of it. And here's the thing. I've never treated my kids in a way that they did not feel respected by me.
Right.
I've always taught them in a way, and I try to do that. I've always treated them in that way. I've always tried to treat people that work with me in a way that says, I may stand strong in something, but I'll always be respectful in how I talk to you and treat you. And if we can take that as a lesson, it'll transform who we are as leaders for sure.
Awesome. That's a great story, man. I can't wait to sit down at my next dinner with my kids around going, you know what this dad had his daughter do for him this
Yeah.
past
And then you
week?
go, y'all haven't done that for me.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Marks, you're such an intricate part of building the teams and the people in this industry, and we so appreciate it. We're looking forward to yes next year. And the 26 class is already sold out as well as 27. So thank you so much for giving us your time to be on here every single month for an hour, just teaching the game, teaching the management and leadership game so people can do that better and create a workplace where people want to come work and not leave. So members, thank you so much for tuning in. You'll be able to see this in a bit. It'll be out on the internet for you to watch. And if you have any questions, feel free to post back in the forum. Dr. Marks loves them questions that I pass on to him to talk about. And thank you so much for your membership and just being there for us. And we're here for you every single day because you're not strong, you're MTI strong. So have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.